Well, first of all, good evening. Thank you for coming. Welcome to the University of Texas at Austin. We have a Chamber of Commerce Day ordered for you here. And before we let you out into the outdoors with drinks and everything else, we're going to take some time and just basically explain to you about a new initiative here on the campus called Texas Venture Labs. What we're really out to do, I'm going to take a few minutes and explain it, invite the dean up to speak, Dean Thomas Gilligan of the business school. I'm going to go through the details of how Venture Labs works, and then we're going to have a successful entrepreneur who came out of the same process as Venture Labs speak, Daniel Nelson, and then a current MBA student who's been very active in forming Venture Labs speak. So today we're here to announce a new program where we're really going to change the cultural fabric at the University of Texas. This has been going on, or entrepreneurship has thrived here at the university over the years, but it's really been through a core group of entrepreneurially minded students and faculty that have kept it alive. We've had some really excellent success over the last years, kind of flying under the radar and staying low. And today we're going to build on that success and make launching companies part of the student and faculty experience here on the campus. While all this has been going on the campus, a lot of you who are outside the campus maybe weren't sure where to turn to understand where entrepreneurship was or where the many opportunities, many places you could go to find startups and work with students are. Now we're looking at centralizing all those resources for you when you can have a place to approach when wanting to know where to work on campus. The reason you're all here today is we really want you to help us in our entrepreneurial revolution. Every one of you in this audience has had a hand in one way or the other over the last several years making entrepreneurship work here in Austin, and now you're on our team, and we'd really like you to help spread the word. And speaking of word, I'm going to take some time today and explain to you everything about the labs. And really ask you to send out the message and send out the right message. Like anything going on in a big organization, there's been all kinds of rumors about what we are and what we aren't. I'll share with you just a minute the most interesting one I heard, and that is that we're taking over the football program. So I talked to the dean about that, and he said it wasn't quite in my job description. So we're backing off on that.
I'm open to taking over basketball.
So don't worry, all of us who are going to speak know we're the only thing between you and cocktails, but we're going to take about 30 minutes and probably less than a dozen slides just to talk about Texas Venture Labs and how we're going to spread entrepreneurship around the campus. Countless people in this room have been contributed to making Texas Venture Labs a reality, and today I'm going to have, again, 3 of them up here to talk to you. First of all, let me introduce Tom Gilligan. Dean Tom Gilligan arrived here about 18 months ago with a real mission to make entrepreneurship work both in the business school and across the campus. Since then, he's been tireless and vigilant about spreading the entrepreneurship word around the campus, and he's been highly supportive of the programs that we already have and highly supportive in pulling Venture Labs together. So let me invite Tom up to say a few words. Thanks, Tom.
Don't worry, I'm a dean. I usually talk for 30 minutes. Rob said 5, no more. I'm going to stick to that. I want to thank Rob and all of the people who were behind the origination of this idea. I'm very excited about the idea, and I want to tell you kind of the 2 or 3 reasons why I'm most excited by it. I think one, and this is probably my number one, it promotes interaction between McCombs faculty and students and the rest of the university. One of the reasons why I came to UT was just based on the grandeur of the university. I'm a big fan of the engineering school, the geoscience school, the law school, LBJ. It's just a great, great university. I'm a big believer that business leaders are more effective when they understand and work with the expertise that resides outside business, that resides in the technical community, that resides in the social and cultural community, that resides in the legal community. I think Venture Labs is going to be a place which will accelerate those interdisciplinary interactions, and I'm very, very excited about that. Secondly, I'm very excited that Venture Labs is going to, I think, strengthen the already strong focus that exists at UT, McCombs, in the entrepreneurship and innovation area. There is a long history of focus on innovation and creativity at UT and in the business school. A lot of this goes all the way back to Dean Kosmetsky. A lot of his students and mentees are in the room tonight. And it's a tradition worth not only preserving but amplifying. We all know that America in particular is not a low labor cost, low resource cost country. Our only possible source of success in the economic battle is to be smarter than all the other countries out there. That's all about innovation and creativity and entrepreneurship. And I think Texas can lead if we were to find our soul, our spirit in that area again, and I think Venture Labs is going to help rejuvenate some of those activities. Professors at McCombs have never really lost this focus. A lot of their efforts in these areas have been put forth at IC Squared or in other programs around campus. Those are very strong traditions that we want to preserve. We want Venture Labs to be a complementary asset to the already broad range of entrepreneurial activities that goes on at UT and in the Austin area. Lastly, I'm the Dean of the Business School. I'm a big believer in experiential education. Students learn best when they get to do. It's okay to listen to professors talk. It's okay to read research about the latest learning in certain disciplines. But students at the end of the day need to have a tangible, tactile experience with what it means to manage innovative and creative processes. I think Venture Labs is going to help provide that opportunity for our students. Students, under the supervision with professors, will be able to work on real, tangible ideas and be challenged by how you make these ideas have real value in marketplaces around the world. I'm very excited about it. I know the students who have heard about the idea are excited about it. We have some students here today. Most of our students in our MBA program are away traveling internationally right now, and so there's not a lot of them here. But I have every confidence that our graduate and undergraduate students ultimately will benefit tremendously from this program. So I'm very excited about this. When Rob and I talked about this idea early on and we began to talk about some of the resource needs of this program and the kind of commitment that would be required from the Dean's office to make it work, I didn't hesitate a bit. It's well worth the investment at this point in time. It's going to require subsequent investments, and it's going to justify those investments going forward. I want to thank a few people besides Rob going forward. Bo Ross is here. Bo's a big supporter of the idea. I took about 5 minutes, and he said, "Where do I sign?" He's a big supporter of the business school, always has been, a proud graduate of the school. And Bo, some of the seed funding you provided for Venture Labs has been instrumental and essential in having it at the state it is today. So thank you very much for what you've done. You'll hear from Randall Crowder later on. Randall's he just doesn't get tired. He's just a student leader. First time I met him, it was about 30 minutes before I realized he was a student. I thought he was someone that ran a big fund somewhere and was going to come and do something for us. Randall's going to talk later, but we have one of the traditions we have in McCombs that we need to keep and preserve is the power of student leadership. And Randall is exemplary of what leadership at the student level can do at McCombs. And when you listen to him later on, I think you're going to agree with me about how poised and energetic and insightful he is in the area of entrepreneurship. So anyway, thanks, Randall. I don't see you, but thanks for all you're doing. I want to thank everybody in the room. I've met with a lot of you in the room, and we've talked about how McCombs can play a bigger role in helping the commercialization process prosper here at UT Austin and in the Austin area more generally. We're on board at McCombs. We think this is very, very important, both from an educational and an economic development point of view. There's no reason for us not to participate at the highest levels that we can. Thank you for the encouragement that you've given me. Thank you for the guidance that you've given me. Jamie Rhodes and Jamie gives me a lot of guidance, but there's usually a bottle of wine involved, and I always forget what he told me afterwards. But so we're working on that. But thank you all for all you've done, and I'll look forward to talking to you all in the future. Enjoy the rest of the evening. I'll look forward to talking to you on the patio afterwards. Thank you.
So let me take some time and just explain to you what the labs is all about, how it's working, and how we're going to roll it out across campus. First of all, I got about 4 or 5 word slides, which I'm not a big fan of, but I'll let you read them. The main thing we're trying to do when you look at the mission is really expand education and research to support entrepreneurship, innovation, and company formation. At the same time, we're trying to make sure there's a great educational experience for students going through this, as well as a research environment for faculty and ongoing business research. So that's really the what. The how is, I like to describe this as a venture fund without the capital associated with a venture fund, okay? We've got a lot of smart, motivated people who are very well educated in the entrepreneurship area as far as students, and we have a lot of experienced faculty members as well as people like you outside of campus that help us mentor these students. So we're really going to provide direct mentoring. We're going to help on things like market and business plan validation, looking at management teams, figuring out how to get funding and providing those direct links to funding. So really think of it as a resource-intensive service where we can apply the experiences of getting companies off the ground to people on campus. And that includes both students and faculty. There's a lot of great research in this university and a lot of opportunities to commercialize it. What's unique is actually fairly substantial, particularly for something coming off a university, in that we have done this successfully for the last 4 or 5 years. I'll take you through a series of examples. Many of you in the audience have been directly involved in either starting a company while a student here or assisting a company while a student here, assisting a company as somebody in the outside business community, or funding some of these companies. So we've got a real interesting track record on that front, and that's how we're differentiating ourselves in the offering. A little bit on the positioning, and again, this is the last of the word slides, and I apologize, but I just want to make sure the message got through. We look like a venture capital firm inside. The concept of people, smart people doing hard work. The difference is we're relying on outside sources of capital. Okay, we've had multiple deals over the last 5 years that we're able to take freshly minted, typically graduate students, and go out and raise capital. And that's an environment when it's been very difficult to do so. We are not reproducing any on-campus or business organization. Okay? Our job is not to do what's already out there. Our job is to help people get the right kind of access to those organizations, be those organizations on campus, of which there are many today that focus on entrepreneurship, or those be business organizations that are outside of the university, but usually help startups and help in that startup process. We're really a consultation and recommendation source. We're accelerating company formation. And we're going to be taking on selective projects. You'll hear more about that in just a second. So if you look at the core of academics and research, this is how we're doing it. We're adding to that campus organizations. And again, there are probably 30 or 40 of those now supporting entrepreneurship. We're including business organizations, things outside of here like TexChange or Central Texas Angel Network, or the wide network of law firms in Austin and venture capital firms that are experienced at doing this kind of thing. And we're bringing all those together under Venture Labs. And the idea is we will help companies as they're in the formation stage on campus get more mature, help them through some of the process they need to go through. So by the time we go out to the outside community for help raising venture capital or help getting the company off the ground, a lot of the risk has been mitigated. The teams know how things should be run. They know what their business is. They know what the economics of the business is. They know what the profitability of the business is. They can answer the tough questions that investors always want to understand. We break companies, the process, we break them into 4 different stages. These are pretty straightforward, but very early stage down here, later stage over here. And really what the labs does is take them from down at this end and push them out towards the far right-hand corner, which is when they're growing and in some cases being harvested, being sold, being acquired by other companies. The timeline, just so you know how we're doing this, obviously we're a startup like anybody else. We're not going to snap our fingers one day and be fully implemented. But in the kickoff, which is officially tonight, we're taking on a series of deals of companies, campus-based companies that are in these stages. We're going to work with those companies throughout the summer and into the fall. Starting in the fall, we're also going to have on board graduate teams of MBAs, engineers, computer science majors, law school students, helping these companies as we go to more early stage deals, figure out some of the important legal issues, technical issues, and business issues. and helping these companies mature beyond their entry-level stage into the labs into later stages. Eventually, we're going to move this beyond just graduate schools of business, engineering, and law into the undergraduate programs and campus-wide. And obviously, as we scale the model and develop the model over the next 6 or 9 months, our eye is towards expanding it across the entire campus. Now, the really interesting thing is we've done this many times over the last 5 years. And let me talk for a minute about that. First of all, if you look at today what's going on campus, we have about 30 companies very much in the raw idea stage, okay? People are trying to get their businesses off the ground. They're taking classes. They're working with business organizations. They're working with campus organizations. They're sort of at the front end of the funnel. And it's really fascinating when you sit on this campus and see some of the ideas that come out and how well these students pick up on this stuff and how much they absolutely want to make these businesses grow. Now, in my more humorous moments, I'd say that has a lot to do with the economy. Rather than the startup being job option number 3, 4, or 5 for many graduating students, it's becoming job option number 1, 2, or 3, which actually for us is great news. If you look at the top, these are some of our companies that are still, that have recently moved from that sort of early far left-hand side and are moving along their maturation stage. And let me just tell you a little bit about these because these are interesting and many of these people are in the audience. First of all, HALSA, Phil Sparrows, is developing a drug that aids in the fat loss process. He was a Johns Hopkins PhD. While he was there, he was on a team that researched why cancer patients wasted away physically. And they separated the gene into the muscle wasting gene and the fat wasting gene. And obviously, Hopkins' model was to find the chemical, I'm sorry, not genes, but chemical that the body produced that caused muscle tissue to waste away. And they went in and they found that chemical and they started figuring out ways to block it. On the flip side, Phil looked at the chemicals that wasted fat away. And he said, while you guys are working on that one that helps people keep muscle, I'd like to work on this one that helps people lose fat. Do you mind if I license that and go out and try to turn it into a company? And the long and the short of it is he's got a very interesting company that's doing exactly that. And for those of you in the pharmaceutical area, he's come out of animal trials with great results and is moving into the stage 1 FDA approval process. Harlan Beverly here created a new form of network device, speeded up network performance for computers. He was a smart guy. He figured out that the world did not need another network card. His way of entering into this market, after going through some of this process we talked about, was going after the game market. Believe it or not, in the United States today, or worldwide I should say, the game market is a huge market. Many adults actually play gaming online. And he found he had the opportunity to go in with a high margin, high profitability product to get established in that market where people were less price sensitive. And now they're successfully moving into lower market, into more competitive markets. Barry Kahn here at QQ. If you've ever noticed the problem with scalp tickets and the fact that you're never comfortable buying scalp tickets, you never know how much they're going to cost, and then when you look at the TV set, you still see empty seats at games. They are working on a system that actually helps sports teams, and they've closed some Major League Baseball contracts and are working, as well as hockey, working on NBA and actually race the NASCAR circuit. He helps these companies go in and get more optimal pricing for their tickets, which helps them fill the seats. So very much the way the airline industry today will sell seats on planes that are empty, sell empty seats on planes. QQ steps in and tries to arbitrage or help the venue arbitrage those ticket opportunities. Focal Pop, Becky Parker is here in the room. If you know the advertising industry at all, frequently getting custom photography done is very expensive. You can go and get stock photography for very little money, custom photography for a lot of money, typically around $10,000. They have found a way basically to crowdsource this custom photography. So rather than advertising agencies having to pay $10,000 or $12,000 and wait a while to get the photographs made, her system will go out and bid out to people with cameras, and there's a lot of amateur photographers these days, and allow them to make money selling pictures to advertising agencies. So these are some of the companies that are in sort of the early to mid stage of development and doing very well. If we look at the bottom, we've had several companies that have not only raised significant amount of venture capital, including the ones up here, but down here we have even more mature companies, some of which have exited. Okay? Uship is a system designed to handle packages that UPS, FedEx, and the Postal Service don't like to handle. It's very tightly tied in with eBay. They've raised more than $10 million in institutional venture capital at this point in time. High revenue growth rate, very highly profitable. MacuClear, Doug Baum is in the room here. They're working on a cure for macular degeneration, which is the most common form of blindness in people over 60. And if you look at what they're doing on the pharmaceutical front, they also have had very successful animal trials and are moving into phase 1 trials. Additionally, they're benefiting from the aging baby boom population. Okay, as that group of retirees begins to go through the system, their market's expanding exponentially. So a very interesting opportunity here. EVAPT, in a simple manner, these guys sell taxi meters for software companies. They've had a very successful company that was recently sold. And then finally, Furnace Software. My version of what Furnace Software does, and the entire team's in the room is going to hear, and Daniel Nelson will speak to you in just a minute, they basically make install shield for Java servers. Now, most of you are used to using a PC, and you kind of get that message that, do you want to install this? You kind of hit the return key a whole bunch of times, going forward on the arrows. You hold your breath, and you hope it installs correctly, right? These guys are doing that for networks. If you do the same thing on a network, it could crash the network, cause hours and hours of downtime. So these are the kinds of deals we're working on, and these are the kinds of deals we have worked on, and this is the process we are building venture labs around. Organizationally, we will have a series of faculty directors primarily focused on entrepreneurial faculty from across the campus. We'll have managers that are postgraduates of the program that come back in and spend a year with us helping us manage. And then the day-to-day operations are staffed by students. Students have been educated on the entrepreneurial process. They're after experiences in venture capital, entrepreneurship, operational issues. How do you do marketing for a startup? How do you do sales for a startup? And student compensation. We are paying with course credit, okay? A lot of times the biggest problem startups have getting off the ground, biggest expense is salaries. Biggest need for capital is salaries. We're able to eliminate some of that requirement by using students who've been trained on this and want the educational experience. So it's a very effective way of getting things done. Some of the initiatives we're working on are up on the slides here. I'm not going to go into any of them in detail. We're working closely with the engineering school and the law schools. We have representatives here from both those. But towards the end, Randall Crowder is going to talk about the CTAN relationship. Central Texas Angel Network, Jamie Rhodes is in the room here. We're announcing a very interesting first partnership with them, which you'll hear about in just a minute. Let me now turn this over to Daniel Nelson. Daniel is the founder of a company called Furnace that we talked about. And the interesting thing about Daniel is about 4 short years ago, he was sitting in a class I teach called New Venture Creation and participated in the MOOC Corp competition, which happens about this time every year. And Daniel's here, and he, together with his co-founder, Robert Reeves, put together a company called Furnace. And by the way, these guys were undergraduate roommates here at the University of Texas. And for the record, it was Robert's idea. He wanted to make sure I said that. About 4 years ago, he got the bug, got his MBA, quit his day job, and about 2 or 3 months ago, he sold his company to BMC. So from MBA to no salary for a year to extremely successful outcome in 4 years, just a great story. And let me invite Daniel up to say a few words about the process and the program and what we're implementing at Venture Labs.
So unlike Rob, I actually will be brief. So Furnace was very much a Texas venture. So starting from the university, my undergraduate was at the university, my co-founders undergraduate was also at the university. Going through MOOC Corp, the MBA experience, all that was very much Texas-based, very much UT-based. I guess the only thing that I could say, the exception of that being that I inadvertently hired an Aggie as a CEO. And strangely enough, the first thing he did is he changed our colors from orange to maroon. But that being said, the process that we went through is very much the process that the venture labs companies are going to be going through. Very heavy focus on customers, very heavy focus on market validation. And so the thing about a startup is not that you're going to get everything right. It's more actually that you're able to adjust from the things that you get wrong. And that's really kind of the most important thing that you can take away from the experience is being agile. But the question becomes, how do you know what it is that you've got wrong? And the answer to that is obvious. You keep asking your customers. You keep getting in front of people. You keep, interacting and making that dialogue be very productive. So from the very beginning, what Rob taught us at the very nascent days of Furnace was you got to figure out what's painful. Don't figure out your product. Don't figure out what feature you're going to come up with. Don't figure out what your pricing model is. Just figure out what the pain is. And that's what Robert and I did for the first 6-8 months of Furnace's experience. We didn't talk about the product. We didn't talk to people about what we were going to do, what we were going to bring to market, how much they were willing to pay for it. We just asked them, what don't you like about your job? What is it that's painful for you? Now, the good news is that we got that pain right, and that allowed us to get things like the pricing model and the sales model and the marketing model and the funding model and a lot of other models wrong. So as we went through and we adjusted and we changed, we adapted, the thing that allowed us the opportunity to do that is we understood our customer. We understood what was painful to them, and we could communicate them and let them know that we were there to help them solve their pain. As any new venture, as any new product, as it comes to market, there's you see the sausage getting made, and it's not really pretty. But one of the things that always struck us is that no matter how torturous the experience was for our early customers, and it was really bad. Like we brought down some production systems. We didn't actually set anything on fire, but like got close a couple of times. But even then, even as our customers were like, great, you just made 12 more hours of work for me. They were like, fix it and come back to me. Fix it and come back to me. This is what I want. And that was an indication, not that we were really witty or charming, well, we are, but also the fact that the pain was really there, and that's what carried us through. And ultimately, what Venture Labs is providing is the model for companies to follow. The model of customer interaction, the model of market validation, the model of here's what you need to do first and build upon it. And that's what Rob has built his reputation on. It's a great reputation. It's the model that Furnace followed. And from business plan under his tutelage to exit was 4 years and 3 weeks. So with that, I'd like to say thank you, Rob, and thank you to the university for everything you provided me personally.
Thanks, Daniel. Let me now bring up Randall Crowder. Using the same 4-year time horizon I did with Daniel, 4 short years ago, Randall was an infantry army captain in Iraq. Since he's been here, and I think I'd echo Dean Gilligan's words, I think most of you think he's probably a longtime graduate from here. But since he's been here, he's still kicking doors down all over town. Has been very innovative in his approach and his leadership to help making entrepreneurship a reality in a funding model he developed in conjunction with Jamie Rhodes and Central Texas Angel Network. So let me bring Randall up to tell you more about that relationship with Venture Labs.
I apologize. This is going to sound way more like an Oscar acceptance speech than anything valuable because, one thing I think is organizations like this come to be, you start identifying them with certain people. And sometimes I think people forget all the people it took to actually make it a reality. And I'm going to take some time and I'm going to say thank you a lot. I'm going to send out a lot of names because I think it's important that we recognize those people. For the last 10 years or more, whether it was alumni, faculty, venture fellows in particular, or just other students, this has kind of always been a dream in one form or another, and a lot of people have kept this kind of on the forefront of their agenda of what to do while they're at school. I want to particularly thank Ron Zaboral and Rajiv Bala, who really pushed this hard in '08 and '09 before they graduated. And I really just, became to respect them a lot and really built upon a lot of the momentum that they created. I want to thank Jim Nolan for his support of Venture Fellows and of Texas Venture Labs when it was just an idea. Similarly, I want to thank Dean Gilligan for the meetings over the summer and a lot of his support when this was kind of a cockamamie scheme. And really, we couldn't have done this in any other environment than the environment that you set up and created at UT, not just McCombs. So we really appreciate that. And I really want to give you a round of applause. I'd like to also recognize, again, he's been the one doing most of the talking, but recognize Rob Adams. He took the lead on this but has been doing it forever. Moot Corp, New Venture Creation. Without him, we absolutely would not be here. And McCombs, really owes a lot and really is grateful for your leadership and the involvement that you've had with students and within the community. So again, another round of applause, please. I also want to recognize 3 of the current Venture Fellows who have been working tirelessly at this. I think 1 or 2 of them are on global trips, but Jeffrey Harbach, Rex Morrow, and Anderson Price, they have been, they bought in hook, line, and sinker and have helped us tremendously and been working really hard at that. So if you have a chance to work with them, whether or not at school or in the community, or potentially work for them someday, that's how sharp they are. It's going to be a real pleasure for you. So I want to commend them for all the work that they've done. Kind of taking off my McCombs cheerleading outfit here, I want to talk a little bit about CTAN now. As executive director, I think there's no finer organization in Austin for early stage investing, but I'm obviously biased. And don't worry, I'm not competing with all the venture firms. What we do is really aggregate a lot of investors and create a system for entrepreneurs to approach them in a meaningful way that doesn't burn up a lot of their most valuable resource other than capital, and that's time. And I really want to commend Bo Ross again for his support of Venture Labs. He's also a CTAN member, and he's really a shining example of the kind of members that we have in our organization now. And there's a lot in the crowd, and I won't embarrass all of you. But really, we're excited about this partnership with Texas Venture Labs because what it does is it gives our members access to intellectual horsepower that I think is absolutely #1 in the country. And it also allows these students access to real-world experience, working with real-world investors and real-world entrepreneurs trying to solve real-world problems. And I think all the CTAN members can echo this, and they're very excited about being kind of the inaugural partner for this and laying the groundwork for other funding sources to follow. Because this isn't, one of those a zero-sum game. We want more support for entrepreneurship. We want more support, funding support for entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs could echo that. But CTAN does a lot more than that, and it's mentorship, of entrepreneurs and of each other. And I think really the Central Texas Angel Network is somewhat of a misnomer because it's way more of a community. And if you don't know about it or you have some previous perception of what it is, I would encourage you to reach out to myself, Jamie Rhodes, a lot of members of the board that are active in the community and members, and really ask about it and find out how you can get involved in one way or the other. With that, it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the vision, and you've heard his name a couple times here, but Jamie Rhodes. He's created this 3 years ago, and it's absolutely his vision and what he wanted to do. There's no greater friend to the entrepreneur than Jamie Rhodes. And for as long as I've known him, I still don't know how he keeps the lights on because he's always doing something for free for somebody. He's traveling all over the state, setting up angel networks or working with entrepreneurs or doing something to mentor entrepreneurs. And it's really, one of the more selfless people that I've had the pleasure of meeting and the pleasure of calling my friend. And wherever he is, stand up, Jamie. I want to give him a round of applause. And to be clear, that's not a shameless plug for Jamie or just CTAN. CTAN, it is remarkable. I was a lot of the board reaches out to me and asks, what are our numbers? What are our stats? Where are we and what are we doing? And if you've read, Austin Business Journal or anything else, you might have seen that we invested 3 times as much capital in 2009 as we did in 2008 amidst the market downturn, if you will. And that's that's nice and great, good for you, you're growing, that's wonderful. The reality is that's also 3 times more than the average angel network in the entire United States. And so we are growing. We are absolutely involved and dedicated and committed to helping entrepreneurs and helping the student body. And so we're excited to work with Venture Labs and really take the next steps forward. We're also, just a sidebar here, we're working on another initiative with multiple angel networks across the state. Carl Walker is somewhere in the audience, board member of the Houston Angel Network, and he's pushing a really interesting agenda that you'll probably hear about sooner rather than later that has some pretty significant implications to Texas Venture Labs and its access to that funding component that Rob Adams talked about. So thanks for indulging me for a little bit, and I look forward to talking with all of you afterwards, and feel free to reach out if I can answer any questions or clarify anything.
All right, let me just take a few minutes and wrap up here. First of all, let me recognize a few more people who've been really critical to making this work beyond those who have already been recognized. Again, Bo Ross, sincere thanks for that initial investment that has gotten us off the ground. Also, John Butler, head of the Kelleher Center for Entrepreneurship, is in the audience, I know. Thanks for all your ongoing support in making this happen. I'd also like to recognize Jim Nolan, who is in the audience, John Doggett, who's traveling somewhere around the world with the MBAs, and both from the business school, and Ted Rappaport, my colleague from the engineering school, who have just been instrumental in making this get off the ground. And then also Isaac Barkas, who's here from ATI, and his team and support and ongoing help making entrepreneurship happen in Austin. So again, thank you very, very much for your time. Please help us spread the word on what we're doing, and please follow me out to the courtyard. Thanks.